Ooh, this is the little leg we're in, okay? So external sell side, external buy side liquidity, okay? So it's actually been swept on ES here, right? As you can see. So we had a bullish SMT at this point. Yeah? So we had a bullish SMT, and if you was jumping in this tiny little 1 minute play, obviously you wouldn't, but for argument's sake, so you would have your internal point here because it's either this one or this one, right? It's more appropriate for this one because this is the next major wick within the leg, and it's just a small, tiny little shitty leg. So if you was in the long, entered here, you would have got tapped into break even up here, right? So essentially, that is the liquidity sweep here. So this is our internal point for the longs, yeah? So this is internal. And the only reason I'm entertaining this is because I need to try and break it down because a couple of people are a little bit confused with the whole liquidity sweep of stuff. So we've had the sweep of the internal liquidity on this tiny shitty little long. So we've got the liquidity sweep. So this is the play that it was. So we had no SMT. Why? Because we've swept the same highs. You can... Technically, this is an SMT. ES hasn't swept the equal highs. ES has created equal highs, which means that it's not been swept. This point of price hasn't been swept. It's the same price. So you can technically say it's an SMT, but it's one of those ones where it's like everything in trading you want to be as clear as possible, which is also why this little internal liquidity sweep and stuff, like it's not the clearest. And I knew that, and I was a little bit apprehensive with the shorts. And this is also unfortunate because I didn't take the play because I just didn't feel the most confident in the play. So we had the liquidity sweep and the reaction of the higher time frame. So that's a fair value gap, obviously. So you look at NQ, we don't have any fair value gaps that we can react off, right? So you notice here, we got this reaction off of the 1 minute on ES. So that's the reaction of the higher time frame or a fair value gap. And then we have displacement. So we've displaced down. We've closed below the fair value gap. Alright. And we've got only a 1 to 2 minute gap, and this is what I missed. Yeah, so I wanted the market to have a little bit more structure. Right? I did. I wanted it to have a little bit more structure. I wanted there to be more to it because this is also a little tiny 1 minute that we had been continuously tapping into. So it was a little bit frustrating. I wanted a little bit more of just a cleaner structure of the market. Right? But I didn't see the LFVG. So this is a 1 minute that we're respecting, but it's also the last fair value gap of the leg. Right? So this is a new leg that we're in here, and this is the last fair value gap of the leg. So ES is respecting the LFVG as well, but I didn't notice that. And I think if I did notice that, that would have given me the little bit more confidence boost within taking the trade. So we had, to break it down, so we had no SMT, we had a liquidity sweep, we had a reaction off of a fair value gap, we had displacement, we had a 1 to 2 minute gap, and we also had an LFVG. So this trade was a 5 out of 6. So this is what you would do. Where's my stop loss? So you'd have your hard stop loss here, for example, right? And then once we tap into this fair value gap below, because we can so easily respect it, that's when you're going to move your stop loss to break even, right? So you move your stop loss to break even. You've tapped into it. You move your stop loss to break even, right? And we set the external sell side liquidity at this point, right? So from this reaction, it's a little bit difficult to say on the... it's a little bit more complicated to say because the actual replay doesn't show how the candles behaved. But that's personally where I would have trailed my stop loss to. Some people may not have trailed their stop losses, but I personally would have wanted to trail my stop loss and see what type of reaction we had. As you can see, I trailed my stop loss just to this point, just to give the candles a little bit of breathing space. Someone made a mistake and trailed their stop loss to here, which is too close. You have to let the candles have a little bit of breathing space. And even this is quite close to give the candles breathing space. So we've continued to come down. This was my point of target that I would have targeted. But it was more so this. So this is what I would have targeted down there. Continue to come down. I wouldn't have hit the trade. I personally wouldn't have targeted this point in the market. So I would have been stop loss, even if I was in the trade, I would have trailed my stop. Once we've displaced down here, I would have then trailed my stop loss to roughly about here. But that's completely up to you how you manage your trading. I've got a different way of managing my trades. Other people have different ways as well. But that's essentially the trade that we caught, well, people caught earlier.